The Select Committee on Land Reform, Environment, Mineral Resources and Energy is on a 3-day fact-finding oversight visit to the site of the Jagersfontein diamond mine disaster. A dam wall collapsed, causing severe devastation for the community near the mine dump. At least 2 people were confirmed to have been killed. Let's talk about this visit with Jomo Nyambi, who's the House chairperson for Committees and Oversight. A very good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you for being on Newzroom Afrika. You're joining us from Jagersfontein. If you can describe to us first the scene that you arrived there as you went to see for yourself the impact and the aftermath of that disaster.
Afternoon, my brother, and afternoon to the viewers at home. Indeed, I can confirm that we are here in Jagersfontein to confirm and see the disaster that happened on the 11th of September. The magnitude of the disaster that happened here is definitely serious. We have been to all the areas. We have seen houses that have been wiped away, houses that are destroyed, and we have seen people that are staying in those areas that have been arranged by different hotels and some guest houses because of houses that has been demolished. It's a dire situation, but we're impressed about the role that has been played by the leadership of the municipality and the district. Was under very serious challenges.
We're losing you somewhat, sir, because I think you're standing outside and it sounds like it's a windy day in the Free State, but we'll persevere nonetheless. You've mentioned people who've had to be housed temporarily as a result of their properties being destroyed by the mud and water that came gushing out. Is there enough accommodation for all who need it? And what is the quality of that accommodation?
No, the quality is proper, because instead of just taking them to halls and churches, they decided to engage some service providers, hotels, guest houses, so that people can be housed, and of course, and some other communities that are able to house other people. But even though that thing is not something that can be sustainable, the sooner the national and provincial are coming in to assist the local and the district, the better for the people of this area. And at some stage, the people that have to be appointed to build the houses, they have to do a thorough job in an efficient time. And it's a situation that can't be left hanging for some time because it might get out of hand. But we have seen the commitment at the local level. The
recent floods in KwaZulu-Natal in April, I use recent quite loosely, have seen a criticism of government in the slow building of permanent structures for people still months later being housed in community halls. And that's likely to be where the challenge will occur in Jagersfontein as well, if there isn't fast movement to make sure that people are resettled in the immediate term out of those hotels and guest houses, but into structures that they can actually call home, right?
Yes, the difference between what happened in KwaZulu-Natal and part of Eastern Cape and Northwest is that here, even though it's a disaster, but in a way it's out of negligence and failing to comply, because you have the mine that is here and what happened in that dam, and it means those owners of those mines have to be engaged so that they can play a critical role to save the situation on the ground. And the sooner all relevant stakeholders are in one room to deal with a way forward, assisting the local municipality. We've seen the Premier coming, leading a delegation. We've seen the President doing the same. But at the same time, you have to have the people that are involved in that diamond mine to make sure that they play their critical role to deal with this situation.
And in terms of the mining company itself, Jagersfontein Developments, what have they been able to tell you, if you've met with them so far, about what was going on at the mine? Because they say that from their reports, there wasn't any sign that that wall would collapse leading to this disaster. But on the other side, you've got reports that show that there were warnings, even community members saying they too had said something was going to happen and it would not be pretty.
It's true that after engaging the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, they confirmed what happened in 2007 when there was a court judgment about whether what is happening there is mining or something that is happening outside the mine. And the judgment made it very clear that it's not mining per se, because, of course, it's things that were taken from the underground, but now it's happening outside the ground, so they don't have a role to regulate. That's where the problem started, and it made us to wonder, why the department never contested that, so that there must be a review application of that judgment to assess the situation. And it made us to conclude that the sooner we have the owners of the mine so that they can be able to clarify the part they played from 2000 to date, because it's clear that there was no compliance, there was no role of the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy. It's only water and sanitation, and of course the one of environment was playing that role in terms of making sure that there is compliance when it comes to environmental issues. But when it comes to the one of mineral resources and energy, there was no involvement at all. That is the problem.
What you're referring to, of course, is that grey area, because the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy is not responsible, I should say, for mine dumps, which is already, let's say, the mud and other stuff that's been brought to surface. That then is the responsibility of the mining company. And to change that, I understand, there'd need to be an alteration to legislation. Years on, is it really acceptable, and you've hinted at this just now, that nothing has actively been pursued by government to change that? And I ask that in the context of Jagersfontein, but also when you look at what happens with mining dumps in Gauteng, where they've been used now as a haven for crimes, ultimately resulting in the rapes of that group of 8 women while trying to film a music video.
I definitely agree with your analysis, and that is why we felt that the sooner we have all these relevant stakeholders so that we can get to something that will clarify the role of the department, even though we understand that they can't regulate something that is outside. But the reality is that even if it's something that is happening outside their competency, what is happening to those diamonds once they're taken there? I mean, it's a process of a value chain that involves a whole range of stakeholders. And it can be that you can have something like that. And out of that judgment, it has created a lot of those mines that are just lying all over the country. That is why the study of that judgment, and they have probably some senior counsel so that it can assist government to come with something that will be a lasting solution. Because now we are having this situation here. Tomorrow it will be another one. And for us to say it's disaster, but it's not only disaster, it's a disaster that is man-made, because it's clear there was no compliance. There was no role that was played by the department. But you can't just cite the judgment that is making it impossible for the department to get in. Yet now, when you have this disaster, you have to have people that are suffering, and they are not getting the situation that will make them to be comfortable. For that reason...
With that in mind, sir, what commitment are you, as parliamentarians, lawmakers, giving to the people of Jagersfontein and others who've been affected by that lack of proper regulation, if you will, around mining dumps and everything that poses a danger to the immediate community? What will you do once you get back to Cape Town to better their lives?
There are 2 things that are coming to Parliament. There is the issue of the MPRDA Act, and there's the issue of us inviting the owners of the mine and all the relevant departments so that we can discuss this thing, because we have to have a lasting solution in this situation. It can't be that we'll fold our arms and say, no, there was a court judgment, so that is why it was impossible to regulate something that is happening here. And the sooner we do that, the better for people of Jagersfontein not to be subjected to the situation that they're experiencing to date. I mean, 1 life lost is too many in my view.
Jomo Nyambi, thank you so much for your time, sir.